In the final part of my Speed Triple series, I get to test ride the 2021 Triumph Speed Triple1200 RS. At first glance, it's notably different to the 1250 RS, but performance-wise, how do they compare? Well, let me cut to the chase. The 1200 RS is an absolute missile, but have Triumph pushed the original Hooligan bike a bit too far?
Hi, I'm Phil and welcome to my channel. Now I'm the owner of the Speed Triple1050S, which I absolutely love. Now just before I bought the bike in 2019, I heard a rumour that Triumph were going to redesign the Speed Triple range and make it look more like the Street Triple 765 RS. 2 years later, and I can't tell you how excited I am to be given the opportunity to test ride the all-new Speed Triple 1200 RS, thanks to my friends at Triumph Essex. Now I absolutely love the design of this bike. With its twin exhausts and its stylish looks, it's the sort of bike that makes me turn round for a second glance.
So when Triumph revealed the 2021 1200 RS, looks-wise, I have to be honest, I wasn't convinced. But saying that, I approached my first ride with an open mind and a bucket full of excitement.
So this is the final part of my Triple series, so here's a quick recap of the series so far.
In part 1 we looked at how the Speed Triple has evolved over the years since its launch in 1994, and I showed you around my 2016 Speed Triple 1050S. In part 2 I spent a couple of hours on a 2020 Speed Triple 1050 RS to see how it compares with the older model. In this episode, I get to take the all-new Speed Triple 1200 RS out for the afternoon, thanks to my friends at Triumph Essex. Now if you've watched part 1, you would have heard me say that Triumph are not content with what they have produced and are constantly pushing the boundaries. Triumph engineers cannot leave the Speed Triple alone, and history shows us that every few years they come up with a new look and increased performance. Well, the 1200 RS has been radically redesigned from the ground up. It is a completely new bike with a bigger 1160cc engine and a lighter chassis. Triumph say that everything on this bike, every nut and bolt, is different. As always, I wanted to get a feel for the bike and ease into my first ride, but I did decide to set the riding mode to Sport, as it was a warm, dry day and I was feeling confident after spending a couple of hours on the 1050 RS. After watching Triumph's launch video, I did expect the riding position to be very different to the 1050S. Yes, it is different, but it still has that upright sporty position that I love. I immediately noticed how much lighter the bike felt, not only when riding it, but when I pushed it across the forecourt at Triumph Essex. The first flip of the throttle told me this was a completely different engine. 180 bhp, 30 bhp more than the 1050 RS. The bike delivers the highest power to weight ratio in the Speed Triple's history, over 25% greater than the previous generation, and nearly double the original 1994 Speed Triple. The engine was developed through Triumph's Moto2 race engine program, and boy can you tell, the acceleration on this bike is ridiculous. From zero to lose your licence in a matter of seconds. But the confidence this bike offers is incredible. The handling and thrust you get from the front end is so good. I found myself up on the balls of my feet as I rode into the bends and riding faster than I normally would. And believe me, I trust my Speed Triple 1050S, especially with the Michelin Road 5 tyres, but this is a whole new level. I tell you now, I would absolutely love to do a track day on this bike. I even noticed the front end felt light at times, and although I deliberately didn't try to wheelie it, I don't think it would take much to lift the front wheel off the ground, even without using the clutch. Now lots of people are saying with that much power it's a track bike, and yes it is, but it's also a road bike. I like a fast progressive ride, it has to be said, and I like to think I'm sensible at the same time. This bike is without doubt made for the road. It has a narrower seat which Triumph say offers more comfort. Now I've never found my Speed Triple to be uncomfortable, and the 1200 RS felt really comfortable to ride with a sporty upright riding position, which is important if you have a bad back, like I do, and let's face it, who doesn't? When it comes to overtaking, you don't have to worry about the power. You see a gap, you blip the throttle and you've passed them. It's a missile. The bottom end is improved, mid-range is ballistic, and top end, well, I have absolutely no idea. The gearbox is smooth, although I did have some trouble at first finding neutral, but I found that a very light touch from first or second did the trick, and from then on I didn't have a problem. The shift assist, well, that was my favourite thing about the bike. It's so smooth. I don't have a quick shift on my 1050S, and I really enjoyed using the quick shift on the 1050 RS. But this shift assist is something else. You just keep the power on and tap the gear lever and then hold on to the bars as you feel the bike pull. It's awesome, and I want one for my Speed Triple. But you don't have to ride like Jonathan Ray to enjoy this bike. You can also easily control this bike at slow speed, even when riding at walking pace. I made no alterations to this bike before taking it out. Triumph Essex set up the brakes and suspension, and I just rode it, and I loved it. The suspension is performance tuned, fully adjustable Öhlins front and rear suspension, and it felt great on the road. It also has linked brakes, which means if you apply the front brake, it automatically applies a touch of rear brake, which again gives you confidence in the bike. The bike to me feels like a big version of a street triple. It's light, you can throw it around in the bends, but it has more than enough power for any rider. But what don't I like about this bike? Let's start with the obvious, the exhaust. I actually love the twin underseat exhausts, and I'm sorry to see them go. The sound from this exhaust is okay, but honestly I prefer the sound from the 1050 RS. I for one cannot wait to see an aftermarket exhaust for this bike. The bike has a really lovely finish to the paint. This model is matte silver ice, and there's also a sapphire black available with red and silver graphics. I've seen so many comments on YouTube where bikers are asking Triumph for more options, and I do agree. A gloss black would absolutely do it for me. It does have a carbon front mudguard like the 1050 RS, and the M-shape rear light looks great too. The 5-inch TFT is nice, and I didn't have any problems using it, but it just didn't excite me, I'm afraid. I did have a problem with the keyless ignition, but it's only because the fob was damaged, but the guys at Triumph Essex fixed it while I was out riding using a backup unit. I also had a problem with engaging the cruise control, but I didn't spend too much time worrying about it, to be honest, as I wanted to enjoy using the throttle. But I don't want to be negative. Overall, I absolutely love the bike. Is it a Speed Triple? In the looks department, I'm not convinced. But as a well-engineered bike with incredible handling and performance, you cannot fault it.
So now I've ridden the 1050S, the 1050 RS and the all-new 1200 RS. Which one did I prefer?
That's a difficult one. I do really love my 1050S and I'm very happy with it right now. However, I did notice the difference in engine performance from the 1050 RS, and it would be nice to have the Hooligan suspension. One day I think I could be tempted to buy a 1050 RS, change the colour scheme and personalise the bike. I'm currently not convinced. If I had the money I would buy the new 1200 RS. There's something about the new design I'm just not so keen on. Overall, the 1200 RS is an absolutely awesome bike to ride, but so are all three bikes in this series. There's still something that says to me that the 1200 RS isn't a speed triple. It feels and looks like the street triple, which isn't a bad thing, and I'm sure that's what Triumph wanted. I'm sure in a few years' time I'll be saying that the 1050 range looks old and dated. Who knows?
And let's be honest, we don't all like the same things, do we? There are even some people who like the design of the BMW GS range. Shocking, I know, but it's true. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, and let me know in the comments which year Speed Triple is your personal favourite. And if you ride a BMW, I was only joking, so don't take it personally. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Subscribe, like and comment.